Good morning. Welcome to the Java Cafe, Java fan.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Good morning again. We are back for our second cup of Java this morning. I want to first of all thank Governor Maura Healey and also Carissa and the press staff over at the governor's office, Valentina, in sort of rushing with a request for her to get someone from the state to come and chat with us about the state of SNAP. There is a lot of ambiguity, not just around SNAP and when people are getting their benefits. There's some unfortunate if benefits, are going to get reinstated. And as we've been saying for a few months, that we've been very concerned about the holidays coming up. And it's not just Thanksgiving. There are people that might be experiencing issues with getting food, making decisions about paying bills or buying food, paying rent, or buying food. Just a note, at 12 o'clock, we're going to speak with a lawyer for landlords that may be faced with making some decisions in reference to maybe rent not being paid from some tenants. They have to pay their mortgage. And so in the vein of also talking about, SNAP benefits, we will have that lawyer to come talk with us at 12. But right now at 11, and I'm going to honor his time because at any moment, governor could call him and say, hey, we just got an update from the White House. We need to make this happen. So I want to be sensitive to his time. But I would like to present to some and introduce to others the acting commissioner of the Department of Transitional Assistance, which is the local state department that facilitates the issuing and applications of SNAP benefits. We might just get him to tell us a little bit about all of what DTA does. But I am honored to present the acting commissioner of the Department of Transitional Assistance here to the audience. Do me a favor. I say it often, yes, but I really mean right now, hit that share button. Those folks that you've had conversation with about concerns or what are y'all going to do, tag them so you're getting the information in real time, accurate information about the SNAP status of SNAP. So without further ado, I would like to present to some and introduce to others the acting commissioner of the Department of Transitional Assistance here in the state of Massachusetts, part of the Maura Healey administration, and that is our acting commissioner, Michael Cole. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Jimmy. Thank you for having me.
I am, on one hand, I'm glad to have you here for the information, but let's keep it real. It's unfortunate that we are in sort of this urgent mode of getting up-to-date information out to the community. And so, Commissioner, you do not know me, but like with the mayor, when the governor comes on, Congresswoman Presley, someone that is right now, your job may be interesting, but right now, so I want to ask you with all due respect, Michael, how are you doing as a person? And then we'll jump into the work. We move in self-care, mental health space here. And so I wanted to offer you that, sir.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Jimmy, and that's the same approach I have with my staff. We've got nearly 2,000 people working for the department across 21 offices, and my big message to them has just been over the past few weeks and longer than that is like we have to take care of ourselves. We've got to take care of the public, but let's recognize we're people. This affects us. We came here to do this work to help people, to get people what they need, and right now we can't give them the one thing that they're coming to us for, which is SNAP benefits. I'm doing okay. I came into this role just a couple months ago, and I've been with the department since 2014. I know this department. I came here in 2014 because I had a passion for making this department work and serving people, particularly in the SNAP program, in a much better way. And I've got great support and great teams and great people that I rely on to keep going each day. But it's certainly, it's certainly straining and struggle and trying to understand what the White House is doing from minute to minute. Hasn't made it easy, and it's been difficult to communicate out to people really what's going on because everyone is looking for simple answers, straightforward answers. Fact is, the information we're getting from the feds is anything but straightforward. It's conflicting, it is unclear, it is ambiguous, it is changing minute by minute, and so just appreciate you asking, and just, I want the audience to know here. we're doing every single thing we can, every minute, day, night, and the weekend, to try and minimize just the impact that we're seeing from the federal level on this program.
I want to thank you, Commissioner, for that. And when we got a little purview into you, you talked about why you went there. I appreciate, and we can tell a little bit about you when you said that, like, I asked you how you're doing, you check in with your staff about that, because even though in government is a helping space, but nonprofit and government, it is definitely a calling. It is definitely something that you have to have a passion about. One thing I want to mention in case people have to jump off is that we will be sharing some links during this broadcast with information. But one of the number one ways that, away from this episode and other things that you can do to stay up to date with what's going on, is mass.gov SNAP benefits. I'm not sure if it'll hyperlink. I'll take care of that in the background. But Commissioner, what is the status of things? As you've said, there's been so much ambiguity. The judges have ordered, and let's just name that one of those judges is here in the state of Massachusetts. When I heard about that, I was like, I think
Yep.
it will be okay.
Yeah.
What is the status of things, sir? When where with what you can because of the ambiguity,
Yeah.
but what is the status according to what you're seeing right now?
Yeah, let me just do a little brief recap and then talk about where we are today. As I think most people know, funding for SNAP, with the government shutdown in October, that put SNAP benefits in question. There were guarantees and sufficient funding that carried over after the October 1st shutdown that allowed us to issue the October benefits. It allowed states, and this is not just a Massachusetts thing, this is nationwide, all states being in the same position. We were able to issue those October benefits, but we were instructed by USDA Food and Nutrition Service, which is the federal agency that funds SNAP, that we were not, and states were not, to issue November benefits until further guidance at the end of the shutdown. As you mentioned, Jimmy, Massachusetts was part of a multi-state lawsuit which sued the Trump administration because separate from the shutdown, we knew that there is a separate bucket of funding at the federal level that is here just for these types of purposes. So the shutdown doesn't need to be resolved for November benefits to be issued. The administration, the Trump administration, was insisting not on drawing that from that contingency fund. There was sufficient funding there to fund at least half of the November benefits. And it took the lawsuit and a judge's order on Friday, this past Friday, instructing the Trump administration to identify, at least at a minimum, what funding for half of the benefits, for around half the benefits, and gave the Trump administration the option actually to elect to fund the benefits in full for November. On Monday, the courts heard back from the Trump administration. They elected to use only the first limited set of funding to fund approximately, but it'll end up being slightly less than half the benefits people would have received in November. That's better than nothing. Certainly, we would have wished that the administration would have just made it easy and tapped all the available funding to fund the benefits in full, but that's not where we are. We received guidance finally on how to administer and calculate these partial payments. We received that yesterday. The guidance we got was very confusing, and long story short, we think we've figured it out, and we're working fast and furiously to get those benefits calculated and get those issued. We are aiming to have those available to people next week, and we don't know when exactly. We will keep people updated. Jimmy, as you posted in there, mass.gov/snap updates is the place to go for real-time updates from Massachusetts on what we're seeing and where we're going. But bottom line is, we will see partial payments going out next week, and that's what we're aiming for. I just want to caveat that I think the messaging that's out there is that this is going to be half of what you're going to receive. That would have been the simple approach in the guidance from USDA, to just say, calculate what people would have gotten, give them 50% of that. The problem is the calculation they gave us was much more complex. And so we'll keep people posted, but it means that some people will receive half of what they were going to otherwise get. Some people will receive less than half. And believe it or not, there'll be a large number of people who will not receive any partial payment because of the way USDA has instructed states to calculate this. And again, this is something that all states are wrestling with right now, real time, how to implement this complex calculation and guidance.
There's Commissioner, and you know, we see it. You all are doing your best to comply, because if I understand right, just so folks understand, SNAP benefits are issued through the federal government, through the states. Is it reimbursement? Is it upfront? Because this leads into the conversation where a part of this, and one, thank you for the clarity. So let me just recap. We did hear benefits will start to go out next week. You don't presume that, based on the latest federal guidance, that the simple thing would have been give people 50%. Some of that guidance, a formulary sort of issue of SNAP benefits, is there's a lot of ambiguity about maybe the formula, which will result in some people maybe getting half and some people maybe getting none. I just want.
Yeah, that's right, Jimmy. And some people getting less than half, so maybe 30 to 40% of what they would have otherwise received as a full partial benefit. We are still hopeful, optimistic, and we're keeping all the records, so we have them, that when the shutdown ends or the Trump administration decides to release the remaining funds, that we'll be able to go back later on this month or as soon as that happens and say, here's what was left for people to get. So even people got zero, people got less than half, or the people got half, we're going to know how much they should have gotten. We're going to know how much they actually got in the partial payment next week, and we're going to do the top up unless the federal administration says, no, we don't want to allow that. But we don't have any indication now that that's going to happen.
Commissioner, may I ask you respectfully, I've seen in media, I've seen social media commentary, and there is this question of if and what the state of Massachusetts leadership, the legislature, the governor, I'm not exactly sure how a makeup, if you will, put it simply, could possibly be made up with this variation of the 50% and none. Do you know where we are and where you can share? Is there some conversation with the administration and the legislature of some sort of what do you call it, gap fill, trying to fill the gap? I know that there's the 400 million issuance that the governor did early with some of the food banks to absorb, but there's still this question of if and what the governor and or the legislature can do while we have this ambiguity with this latest guidance.
Yeah, and I think it was closer to 4 million for the advance funding to that, but I'd have to check to the emergency food systems. This is, this has been asked to the governor, and I think probably people in the legislature as well. And the fact is the cost in Massachusetts for SNAP benefits is around $220 up to $240 million each month, which is just an absolute massive amount for the state, and any state really, to have to step in and cover what should be federal expenses. Now, obviously, when people are hungry and in a tough situation, you do what you have to do. But what we've seen the governor do is put pressure on the Trump administration and the Commonwealth itself, be party and really a leader in this lawsuit against the Trump administration, to force the administration to release those federal funds, which are at their disposal to fund these benefits. So right now, where things stand is partial benefits have been, will be released to states. We will get those out as quickly as possible. I think it's a matter of keeping the pressure on with the administration, the federal administration, to release the rest of those funding so people can get their full benefits. The other thing is, if you'll look back at the governor's comments, she notes that the Trump administration has already shifted, I think, something like well over maybe close to $4 billion in expenses onto Massachusetts alone. My personal feeling is that's not where it ends. And so, quickly, 220 million each month plus whatever else has already been shifted onto states, and whatever will be going forward. We're looking at potential annual penalties of up to $400 million to Massachusetts based on new changes in the July 4th HR 1 bill that penalizes states who, frankly, don't have near perfect and precise issuances of their SNAP programs. And every state is scrambling to try and figure out how to meet those requirements. And here in Massachusetts, the potential penalty is up to another $400 million each year. So we're just seeing pile-on after pile-on after pile-on of federal responsibility and costs being put on states, in addition to another 53 million in administrative expenses that the Trump administration and that bill, House Resolution 1, shifted on to Massachusetts. So long story short, it's just a big bill, and it doesn't seem to be stopping.
And it ain't that beautiful. Sorry.
You better believe it.
I don't want to get you in trouble, Commissioner.
Oh, I will. I'm with you, Jimmy. Trust me. I've got my own terms.
I wanted to, just cover that and level set, because the governor does have a fiscal stewardship responsibility, and we don't unfortunately know how long this is going to go. And then putting out this sense of month by month of the Massachusetts budget absorbing 200, I think you said about 40 million on top of a potential annual 400 million, 240 times 3 months. If this goes, November, December, it becomes interesting. And we have other deficiencies when it comes to funding because of the stance that this state has taken against this administration. So I think it's important for people to understand that. And it's not just a no, I'm not, pulling out the reserves. And I mean, I got a sense of the governor, if it really comes down to it, she probably will. But there is the principle thing as well, principle, and people. And I believe that's the priority. I wanted to share a couple of resources as we get ready to wrap up. One is that the commissioner and others have encouraged us to reach out to the Project Bread Food Source Hotline, as well as I'm aware that our good friend Marty Martinez is working with the state through the United Way in giving out, I believe, some grants around folks that move in food equality and whatnot. I have some other information I'll share here, but as we get ready to wrap up, and I know you might go a little bit personal, but also policy, but what advice would you give for those that are in this, state of ambiguity around the ability to purchase food? What away from patience, and bear with us, what advice would you give, Commissioner, to the everyday Massachusetts resident that is just bewildered, struggling, and just it's a lot to bear right now, especially if you have children?
Yeah, no, there's no advice that's going to make it any easier what people are going through, whether you have children or not. And if you're worried about where your next meal is going to come from, there's no advice that's going to make you feel any better or going to be helpful. I think, frankly, the most important is that where the resources are. Project Bread Food Source Hotline, that number, Jimmy, that you put up is like absolutely critical. It is the hotline for finding nearest food pantries and food sources, and they're a great team on standby, ready to take calls and help people. There are some updated resources at our website, mass.gov/SNAP-freeze, which would be really helpful in terms of other resources that might be available. The only other thing I can say is that if you're wondering, is DTA open for business? Should I apply, or should I keep, if I've got an appointment, should I keep that appointment? Yes, come in. Our offices are open. Our staff are ready. We don't have SNAP yet to give out, but we are taking applications. We are moving cases along where, who have those checkpoints and people who have active cases now, because we want to make sure when this funding is released, when it's unfrozen at the federal level, we're able to pay people back to the date that they were eligible. So I would discourage anyone who's thinking that they shouldn't be applying now because they're on SNAP and they think they're eligible, because we want to take your application. We want to get you in. And then when the funding becomes available, we can pay you back retroactively to when you applied.
I appreciate that. And I just have to note, I love our governor's cadence, because this link right here is just President Trump is frozen. And this is a very serious matter, but we have to find these little bits of ways to offset some of the stress of this. But I enjoy
Jimmy, can I make a quick note on that? I think, please. I'm sorry to interject, but I just think, I've heard from some folks who feel like this is turning political. And I want to be clear, like, this situation is not about using people who are hungry as political pawns or political situation. And I've told this to my staff, what we need people to know is this is literally about the president who has the ability to tap those funds and is choosing not to. And I would most important need people to know when they come into a DTA office that it's not that DTA caseworker across the table who's doing this to you, who's holding that back. We're here. We are here to support people. And it's why it's really important, and why we've had to be unfortunately explicit about where the authority and the ability to release this funding lies. This is not about politics. This is about the responsibility of the president, and the office of the president. So
I definitely agree, and I'm sure our governor does as well. And I'm glad that she, gave back that same energy that, you go to the USDA website and see this political stuff, and then, but like you said, that you got to balance with some of the pushback, but then also, and thank you for centering, because I think in people's moments of chaos and whatnot, that person in front of them is the face.
Yeah.
And so let me get you off screen. I'm just going to say this. If you have to go in and you're talking to and you're calling, it's not those individual workers that's just sharing information with you based on what's coming out. And so give those workers grace as well, because they are, and Commissioner, you said it in the beginning about how you look out for self-care. Your staff are humans. Your staff may have family members or whatever, and just, dealing with the same thing, and so I just wanted to name that. And again, thank you for spending the time with us and giving the update. I'll make sure that we share the resources, as well as we'll clip up, this video, and let people know that, again, SNAP benefits will start to go out next week. They will not be at 100%. The White House has issued a very interesting formula for which the states are to issue partial SNAP benefits. Some may receive under 50%. And unfortunately, the way the formula is set up right now, some may receive none. One of the best ways that you can get resources is to, I'll let you do this here. Go ahead, Commissioner. Project Bread.
Yep, Food Source Hotline, 800-645-8333. Jimmy, for the Boston audience here, I just want to make sure and take the opportunity to plug. We have a second office, and I think not everybody knows that yet. I know a lot of people like to come down to Nubian Square, 1785 Columbus Avenue, right across from Dimmock, near Jackson Square. We've got a nice office. The waits are really super short. So whether it's now or whether it's down the line, I think if you live anywhere near Jackson or south, down Eggleston, Seaver, you might find this a lot more convenient to go to. And so I just want to make sure people know, give that office a try as well. I'll plug that in the address in the chat there, Jimmy.
I got you right here.
Okay.
1785 Columbus Ave, additional DTA office. Also, don't forget to call Project Bread if you need information. And then also in both the chats on James and Java and YouTube, we have put the links to information about the SNAP freeze, as well as for you to get updates from the state as well. How important is it, last question, Commissioner, that people receive accurate information? Because the wrong information can, there's stress, there's you know what I mean? So how important is it that people go to the websites and maybe call their worker or whatever? How important is it that they get accurate information?
Absolutely critical. And this is why we try and keep SNAP updated as quickly as possible in real time. But we know people are getting information from social media, the mainstream media, friends and family, and it's understandable that bad news spreads very quickly, or good news can spread even quicker, positive news. But please do just, check the official source. We want to be the official source of truth. You can come into an office and get the official source of truth. We're really making sure all our staff, our website, and the public, as much as possible, have the latest and most accurate information about where things stand. So that's the best.
All right, Commissioner, I appreciate it. Valentina, I'm telling you directly, the governor knows if there's the website and whatnot, but sometimes there could be this intentional, urgent target of pushing out information. We're here. Get me the information and we'll make sure that we get it out in addition to the information shared here. So, Commissioner, thank you. Love, light, and strength you and your staff's way, because y'all don't just close the briefcase and go home at 4:30. You know what I mean? And so keep that cadence with them of checking in on them, and hopefully somebody is checking in on you as well. And Commissioner, again, we're here as a resource to share information. If you ever need us, let us know.
Thank you, Jimmy. Appreciate it.
All right, Commissioner. Thank you. And give Valentina and the team there my best. Thank you.
Absolutely will. Yes.
Yes, sir. Bye-bye. Bye. So, folks, you heard it directly here from the Commissioner. Benefits start going out next week. They will be partial. They will be under 50%. And unfortunately, because of the formula that the White House has issued, some may not receive any benefits next week. And so one of the things that you can do to stay informed and if you have needs is to call Project Bread, the food source hotline at 800-645-8333. And also, if you want to go directly into the office, not to fuss at the workers, but he mentioned that there's an additional office at 1785 Columbus Avenue. All right, that's it for me in the 11th hour. We will be back at 12 o'clock to speak with a lawyer, kind of in the same vein of balancing tenant rights and then also giving information to landlords who have hustled, who unfortunately in some cases may or have been taken advantage of via squatters or people knowing that this is a tenant rights state and taking advantage of some people that have worked hard to get wealth via the form of purchasing a house and maintain it. And so Attorney Greenman will be with us in the 12 o'clock hour. We will see you in about 30 minutes, all right, for your third cup of Java at 12 noon today. Peace, everyone.